Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, father of Reaganomics, former head of the Treasury, will be joining us coming up in about 45 minutes. Then we got David Icke for an hour and a half. That's always interesting. We are live, 8th day of January 2009. So, Steve, as you said, the mere fact that they're out in the open about all this now, but put window dressing on it, is a sign historically that they're going for broke, that they've decided to fully engage their operation. What will that operation look like?
Okay, I asked that specific question, and I'll get to the timing issue after I tell the operation. The operation is absolutely so planned out to the nth degree. And, Alex, every day they have meetings, and they discuss what I talk on my show, and I'm not flattering me or you, but they want to know how much we know. And every time we tell what we know, they plan around what we're telling the people. First of all, the Internet's going down. The guy said, you must tell your listeners the Internet's going down.
By the way, the inventor of the Internet said Sunday in the BBC that it's, quote, dying because these systems by design aren't being repaired or upgraded, so they're going to claim it's a failure.
Absolutely. But let me say this, too. I've got now multiple reports of the black box jammers being given to selected communities. Now, I don't know the communities that they expect to have the most. Black box jammer is something that will cut all radio, all television. It cuts everything. And listen, in a 12-mile radius, okay?
So it's a wide-spectrum jammer.
It's a wide-spectrum jammer, and they have been handed out along with the individuals that know how to work with them. And
that's what the Russians used in Baghdad to jam cruise missiles.
Absolutely, but it's getting, and so people say, well, I'll just call Steve or Alex on my cell phone. No, you won't. Well, I'll just get on my landline. No, you won't. Well, I'll just get on the shortwave. No, you won't. The thing is, Alex, and this is something that I said to the gentleman that I was having a talk with. I said, so what are you doing? And he said, I'm buying, and this is his words. He said, I'm buying food. I'm buying the weapons to defend my family. And he said, I'm looking for a place, too, because he said,
but that's what I was going to say. What are they going to do when their own people walk off from NORAD and walk off from Northcom and the police walk off to help their families? Then they bring in the foreign troops.
Then they bring in the foreign troops, and that's the other thing. You said, Steve, I'm seeing more and more foreign troops assigned to active duty U.S. troops stationed. And by the way, he said the 30,000's a bunch of bunk.
And by the way, people laugh at this. 20% of the Army's illegal aliens they hired. The biggest recruiting centers are in Manila, Philippines, the Mexico City, Ukraine. And then it's in major papers. They've signed deals. Remember, Congress last year said we weren't told to use Canadian and Mexican troops in America. That was in the Toronto Star.
Absolutely. And we can no longer call them the shadow boys, okay? I don't know if you saw on Drudge, but they showed 5 presidents, including current president-elect, and all I wish that someone would have drawn in, or someone would draw in, a cartoonist, is just the puppet strings going up above all of them with the Illuminati, we own them all, okay? The thing is that this thing is so close. Here's his time period. He is extremely worried, okay? He said he is extremely worried about the next 90 days. Everything that's taking place in the Middle East plays into this. Everything that's taking place in the currency. I asked him flat ass out, forgive the language, but I said, look, I gotta have this from you guys and be able to verify it. Is the Amero really coming on board, or is that just another thing to keep us occupied and then just go directly to cashless society? He said no, and by the way, I've had multiple verifications, although people say, the Amero, it's not printed. China demanded 1.3 trillion Ameros, which the Bush regime gave to them, or they would basically cancel and crash our currency.
Now, let's explain what that is. That they announced a month ago in the New York Times that the Federal Reserve is issuing something above Treasury notes itself that is collateralized by North American assets. So that's your Amero. It is above the stock market, above the bond market, international currency, cashless, above gold. Stay there. Steve Quayle's our guest. Transmission continues. A sneak attack into South Ossetia to start a conflict that then in 2011 and 2012 leads to a nuclear war. Now they put out the end war game where all of this happens and then world government comes out of it. They love this predictive programming. Or is it the economic collapse? Is it conventional state? Is it a wider war, an attack on Iran? What do you see unfolding?
I see all of the above, and let me first of all take the suitcase nuke thing. Alex, that's what launched me on my radio career 15 years ago, because after the situation with Russia and the whole Glasnost, Perestroika, the Berlin
Alexander
Wall.
Lebed.
You got it. Alexander Lebed, by the way, I was in the process, and I'm not saying he was murdered because I was trying to interview him, but when Lebed testified before the Walden Committee, he was telling me exactly what's happened. I actually talked to different people that were arms brokers from that part of the world, especially Eastern Europe. And when I say you could get anything you want, you could get the deal handled in Vienna, you could basically go to any of the stands. And those days, the going price for what would be called a suitcase nuke is $5 million. Now, what was fascinating, when I interviewed different black market guys that were selling this stuff, I mean, the typical statement would go, oh, we can get you whatever you want. Let us see the color of your money. Once we see the color of your money, we will be friends. Once we have your money, we will be very good friends, and you will be very happy. That's a liberal conversation. The thing is that what I don't think people understand is it's not the argument. See, every time I used to talk about suitcase nukes in America, the CIA would flood out their specific mouthpiece and say, oh, those things don't exist. Alexander Lebed was murdered.
It's called a Dave. Well, I mean, our side, the oldest model was a Davy Crockett. And,
yep.
and I mean, there's all sorts of strategic...
But listen, it's way beyond that now, because, again, when the whole thing came out with Red Mercury, I was the first guy to interview Sam Cohen, the inventor of the neutron bomb, okay? When I would talk about Red Mercury, and not the stuff that was trying to be sold on eBay that was basically mercury with a dye in it, but Red Mercury is an atomic, if you will. It's got to be put into a reactor. It's mercury antimony oxide. I mean, it's an atomic byproduct.
It comes out of a nuclear pile.
Yes, it does. But, I mean, here I've got the inventor of the neutron bomb, by the way, telling me that the United States government gave that to China courtesy of George Bush Sr. The inventor of the neutron bomb was present when the design for the neutron bomb was given to China. But he told me, he said, Steve, I interviewed Sam Cohen, I think 8 times, and had massive conversations with him off air. And here's the thing, Alex, this is no longer old, vintage nuclear weapons that have to be kept up, batteries, all that stuff, the thorium and all the different byproducts, different products that have to be used in the fission reaction. When I talk to guys who are what we call the mighty men and women of valor, and they tell, I always get told, why would anybody tell you stuff? Simple. Because I'm trying to tell it like it is. I'm trying to warn people like it is, like you are. And, I can't tell you how many of those devices have been disarmed in the United States. People said I was fully you-know-what. But then they could not deny the seismic tracings of, why did all that seismic activity happen on July 15th, a number of years ago? The point is what I'm trying to say is this. We are so mind-controlled that you and I could present living, actual testimony. And the CIA already ran a study on this and said only 46% of Americans would see it if they saw it. Believe it, if they saw it with their own eyes.
Stay there.
46%.
I want to talk more about neutron weapons because, of course, this is a radiation burst, not a hot flash airburst, and it kills all living creatures in a certain area but doesn't damage the infrastructure. The British Ministry of Defense said now a year and a half ago in their public report, we'll tell you when we get back.